In a decision that sent shockwaves across the country, Americans from all walks of life found themselves glued to their screens, trying to process the magnitude of what had just happened. The Supreme Court has struck down the sweeping tariffs imposed during the Trump administration, overturning a policy that had defined a turbulent era in U.S. trade relations. This landmark ruling effectively ends a years-long trade policy that reshaped the global economy. Financial markets surged in response, with investors hopeful that the decision would usher in a new period of stability and growth. Yet, for industries that depended on the tariffs for protection, the future is now clouded with uncertainty. Many workers and business owners are left wondering how they will adapt to a rapidly changing landscape. The ruling surprised many, as few expected such a broad and definitive conclusion from the nation's highest court. Legal experts are already calling it one of the most consequential decisions in recent memory. For years, tariffs were central to America's economic strategy, defended as job protection by some, who argued they shielded American workers from unfair foreign competition, but criticized as a tax on consumers by others, who pointed to rising prices on everyday goods and the strain on household budgets. The decision is not just about economics, it's a profound statement on the limits of presidential power, setting a precedent for how far executive authority can reach in shaping national policy. Lawmakers are scrambling to understand the full scope of the ruling, holding emergency meetings and drafting new proposals to address the sudden policy vacuum. Meanwhile, workers and executives are left redrawing plans, recalculating budgets, and questioning what comes next for their companies and livelihoods. The future of American trade policy is now wide open, with global partners watching closely to see how the U.S. will move forward. Tonight, families are asking, will prices drop on the goods we rely on every day? Will the cost of living finally ease? Will jobs be lost or created as industries adjust to the new reality? For many, the uncertainty is both daunting and hopeful. The Supreme Court's decision has real-world consequences for every American, touching lives in ways both seen and unseen. It affects the price of your car, your groceries, your appliances, and even the cost of building a home. And it impacts the security of your job, your community, and the opportunities available for the next generation. The nation is grappling with these questions as it processes a day that will be remembered for years to come, a turning point in the story of American trade and governance. The story is just beginning, and its impact will unfold for months, if not years, as Americans everywhere adjust to a new chapter in the nation's history. To truly understand the significance of today's Supreme Court ruling, we need to look back at the controversial policy that has just been overturned, a policy that sent shockwaves through the global economy and changed the way nations approach trade. In 2018, the Trump administration invoked Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, arguing that certain imports threaten national security. This rarely used law allowed the president to impose sweeping tariffs without congressional approval, a move that would soon reshape international commerce. Billions of dollars in new taxes were slapped on imports, targeting steel, aluminum, and a vast array of Chinese goods. These tariffs were felt not just at the ports, but across industries and supply chains worldwide. This marked a dramatic shift away from decades of free trade policies. The administration's goal was to protect American jobs, revive struggling factories, and reduce the nation's persistent trade deficit. For many, it was a bold experiment in economic nationalism, but the world responded swiftly. China and other major trading partners retaliated with their own tariffs, igniting a global trade war. Suddenly, businesses faced a tangled web of new barriers, tariffs, and uncertainty that rippled through financial markets. American manufacturers saw their costs soar as imported materials became more expensive. Farmers, once reliant on overseas buyers, watched export markets evaporate almost overnight, leaving crops unsold and machinery idle. While some industries, like steel, enjoyed a brief surge in demand and investment, many others, especially small businesses and exporters, struggled to stay afloat amid rising prices and shrinking markets. The nation was divided. Supporters hailed the tariffs as tough but necessary medicine for a globalized economy that they argued had left American workers behind. Critics, however, saw them as a self-inflicted wound, warning of higher prices and lost jobs. The debate raged in Congress, on television, and around kitchen tables. Were tariffs a powerful tool to demand fairer trade, or simply a hidden tax on American families and businesses? These questions soon landed in the courts, as legal challenges mounted over the president's authority to impose such sweeping measures. The legal battle would ultimately set the stage for today's historic Supreme Court decision. The impact of these tariffs was felt in every corner of the economy, from bustling city streets to rural communities, from factory floors to family-owned shops. No sector was left untouched. Now, with the Supreme Court's landmark ruling, the era of broad unilateral tariffs has come to a close. The decision marks a turning point in how America approaches trade policy. As the nation looks ahead, it must chart a new course in global trade, one that balances economic security, international cooperation, and the needs of American workers in an ever-changing world. The Supreme Court's decision was about more than economics, it was about the Constitution. The justices ruled that the president's authority under Section 232 is not unlimited. A clear direct link to national security must be shown to justify such tariffs. The court found that using national security as a blanket reason for economic policy overstepped the law's intent. This sets a new precedent. Future presidents must provide detailed evidence or work with Congress for similar actions. The ruling reaffirms Congress's primary role in regulating foreign commerce. Legal experts call this one of the most significant checks on executive power in decades. The balance of power has shifted. Congress must now decide America's trade strategy. The responsibility for the nation's economic course is back in lawmakers' hands. The Supreme Court's decision sent immediate ripples through the economy, triggering a wave of reactions across financial markets, businesses, and households alike. The news spread quickly, and its impact was felt in nearly every corner of the country. Wall Street soared as investors welcomed the end of trade uncertainty. The stock market responded with a surge, reflecting renewed optimism and confidence among traders who had been waiting for clarity. Companies relying on imports or exports saw stock prices jump, as the removal of tariffs promised smoother international trade and higher profits. For many businesses, this decision marked a turning point, opening doors to new opportunities abroad. For consumers, lower prices are expected as tariffs disappear, like a tax cut for millions of families. Everyday goods, from groceries to electronics, could become more affordable, easing the strain on household budgets and boosting consumer confidence. However, industries once protected by tariffs, such as steel and aluminum, now face tough global competition and possible job losses. Factories that once thrived under protectionist policies must now adapt quickly or risk downsizing. Workers in these sectors are anxious, fearing layoffs and uncertainty, while businesses that use raw materials are relieved to see costs drop. The divide between those who benefit and those who struggle is becoming more apparent. Construction firms, automakers, and manufacturers anticipate lower costs and potential growth. With cheaper materials, they can expand operations, hire more workers, and invest in innovation, fueling hopes for a broader economic boom. The decision creates new winners and losers overnight, reshaping the competitive landscape. Some companies will thrive, while others may struggle to survive in the new environment. The American economy, complex and interconnected, is being reshaped by this single ruling. Supply chains are adjusting, and industries are rethinking strategies to stay ahead in a rapidly changing market. Some will benefit, others will struggle, and the landscape for thousands of companies is changing fast. Adaptation and resilience will be key as businesses navigate this new reality. The effects will be felt from factory floors to family budgets, influencing daily life, job security, and the cost of living for millions of Americans. The nation braces for both challenges and opportunities ahead, as everyone, from policymakers to ordinary citizens, prepares for the next chapter in this unfolding economic story. The tariff debate has always been deeply polarizing, and today's ruling only intensifies it. Supporters saw tariffs as vital for protecting American jobs and national security, even at the cost of higher prices. Critics argued tariffs were a tax on Americans, hurting competitiveness and damaging alliances. Economists note that jobs saved in protected industries were often outnumbered by those lost elsewhere. For some, the ruling is a victory for free markets and global cooperation. For others, it's a blow to American industry. The debate over how best to protect American workers and compete globally is far from settled. The Supreme Court's decision sent waves across the globe. Trade partners like the EU welcomed the move, hoping for de-escalation and renewed cooperation. China's response was cautious, awaiting America's next steps. Global companies must now rethink supply chains built to avoid tariffs. Developing nations hope for a more stable, open trading system. The ruling could revive international bodies like the WTO, pushing the US back toward multilateral solutions. The world is watching to see if America will lead in global trade diplomacy or chart a new, more insular path. The map of global manufacturing and trade is shifting once again. The decision's impact will ripple through economies large and small. America's next moves will help define the future of global commerce. The Supreme Court's decision has created clear winners and losers. Industries relying on imports, like autos and construction, will see costs drop and potential growth. Farmers hope for reopened export markets and relief from retaliatory tariffs. For struggling rural communities, this could be a lifeline. Meanwhile, domestic steel and aluminum industries lose their protection and face renewed global competition. Fears of layoffs and plant closures are real in these sectors. The impact will vary by region and industry, creating new challenges for policymakers. Workers in manufacturing and logistics may benefit, while those in primary metals face uncertainty. The economic effects will be uneven, demanding targeted solutions. The nation must now address the needs of those left vulnerable by this sweeping change. Reactions to the ruling have been swift and divided. The administration and many in Congress praise the decision as restoring stability and constitutional balance. Tariff supporters call it a blow to American industry and vow to fight for new protections. Industry leaders welcome relief from uncertainty, while labor unions warn of job losses. Legal experts hail the ruling as a landmark check on executive power. Economists predict lower prices for consumers, but warn that crafting a smarter trade policy is the next challenge. The ruling's legal and economic implications will shape debates for years to come. As the dust settles, America stands at a crossroads. The Supreme Court has closed one chapter, but opened a world of new questions. Companies, markets, and workers must now adapt to a rapidly changing landscape. Congress and the White House face the challenge of crafting a new, bipartisan trade strategy. America's role on the world stage is being redefined. Will it lead in global commerce or turn inward? The choices made now will shape the nation's economic future for decades. The debate over trade jobs, and America's place in the world is far from over. The path forward is uncertain, and the next chapter is just beginning.